Lesson 6. Brief Tour inside Visual Studio 2019. As mentioned before, Visual Studio is the integrated development environment that you will be using to write C# code or any other .NET language code as well. Visual Studio has multiple history versions. The current version, as I am recording this course, is Visual Studio 2019. You can download it from this website, visualstudio.com/downloads. There are 3 different editions available. The Community Edition, which is free of charge, it is designed to be used by students or individuals. The Professional Edition, which is commercial edition, designed for small teams. Finally, the Enterprise Edition, which is also commercial edition, designed for larger teams or teams of any size. For the sake of my courses, Community Edition is enough to practice everything. If we came across any feature not available in the Community Edition, I will mention it. Note also that you can download and install the Professional or Enterprise Editions free as trial versions if you'd like to. Installation of Visual Studio 2019 is straightforward, although it will take significant time, internet bandwidth, and storage space as the setup program downloads all components from the internet. These resources greatly varies according to the options selected during setup. If you have enough resources, simply select all components during installation. Otherwise, select the components named ASP.NET and Web Development and .NET Desktop Development only. These components are enough for now. Now, let's take a quick tour inside Visual Studio 2019. As you see, this is the interface of Visual Studio 2019 when you run it. If you see this window, simply click on the Continue Without Code link in the bottom right to close it and follow up with me. I know you will have the feeling it's hard to learn at some stage. This is just due to the large amount of Windows toolbars and menu items, but still easy to learn. Just keep in mind that most of the time you will not use all these features. You will be normally using a very limited number of these windows or menu items most of the time during coding. Most of them actually are rarely used. Now we need to take the first step to create our first application. Please go to File menu, click New, and finally Project. What is project actually? It is the host of our code to build one application. Visual Studio is calling this project. Project is actually contained in a larger container called solution. Solution can include one or more projects that are interacting together to do specific job. In most simple applications, your solution will always contain only one project. When growing up in programming and create larger projects, you may include one or more projects in the same solution. We will understand and talk about all this in more details in advanced topics later. Now, you can see here many types of projects that I can create with Visual Studio. A lot of programming languages, a lot of platforms, a lot of types. We are going to cover many of them by time. Note that you may not use them all or use some of them very rarely. Since we are learning the language, we need the simplest type of applications in order to focus only on the language itself, other than application-specific features. Later on, we can focus on project type-specific features like Windows or web or mobile applications. Let's select C# here from the language drop-down menu. Then select console from the project type. Finally, select console application.NET framework from the list below. Click on Next button. Here, we are going to name our new project Since this is the first project, let's name it Hello World as a convention of learning new programming language. We can notice down here that there is another place to name the solution. Just keep it on the default, which will be the same as the project name. We will notice also that there are some other options below. Just to keep them all unchanged. We will cover these options later. Finally, click on Create button below. Great! Now Visual Studio has created our new empty application. This is a template for an empty console application that we can start writing C# code inside. The large main window that occupies most of Visual Studio 2019 area here is the code window. We will be using this window most of the time spent inside Visual Studio. We have another important window on the right side here called Solution Explorer. It contains project components and files so we can navigate between them easily. We can double-click any item in Solution Explorer window to open it and edit it. As you can see, the content of the file came up on the code window. We will not go deeper in our application components and files right now. We will gradually know about each of them later. Notice here in the code window that Visual Studio has already written some codes for us. The file opened currently in code window is program.cs. We can notice that from the title here. It is one of our project components, as you can see here in the Project Explorer window. If we close it, we can reopen it again from Solution Explorer. We will notice some lines of code at the top starting with using keyword. We notice here that there is something in code called main. Its type is method. It's included inside a larger thing of type class named program, which in turn included inside a larger component of the type namespace named Hello World. Hello World is the same name we have selected for our project and solution when created. We will start typing code inside the main method. This method will be executed first in console applications once application starts. We need to know that C# language is case sensitive, which means that changing letters from capital to small or vice versa do matters. Every statement must be in the same case exactly. Otherwise, it will not be recognized and I may end up with error message. Let's go on and write a simple application to see how to interact with Visual Studio Code window and how to run applications. Go here inside the empty curly brackets or braces under the main method. These braces are there to contain all the code inside the method, which is currently empty. Opening brace should exist before the first line of code. Closing brace exists after the last line of code. Braces are containers for any type of code blocks, not only methods. They identify the start and end of any code block. If you notice, all of the code containers we see here have their own braces. These are the braces for the empty method called main. These are the braces for the class named program. Finally, these are the braces for the namespace named Hello World. We will start typing here inside the braces of main method. Start to type console. See, did you notice that? Once you start typing, Visual Studio shows a drop-down menu at cursor location with suggestions of what we may need to type. The content of this menu is keep changing upon typing each character even. This indeed is one of the most powerful helping features that Visual Studio provides. This feature is called Intellisense. As a programmer, You can never remember exactly all the names of the classes and their methods in .NET library. You may even forget the names of your own classes. This is normal. Visual Studio is here to remind you with hundreds of thousands of them automatically, including the ones you create yourself. Just start typing parts, and while typing, Visual Studio can help you remember the correct name through this menu. This menu displays much more helpful information other than only names. We will know more about it eventually. You can also freely scroll this menu and see all suggestions and their types here before continuing type your comment. Okay, now let's complete our word console, which is one of the classes in .NET library that has a lot of functions to work with console window, like printing text and asking for user inputs. Finish typing the word console or select it from the drop-down menu. Note that C letter is capital, while all other letters are small. This is important as discussed before. Now, type a period after the word console. Note again the appearance of the suggestions drop-down menu. This time it includes all the internal items of the console class. By time, we will know more about these items, and keep in mind it's not necessary to know about them all or even use them all in your applications. We need to know for now that classes have three important sub-items. The properties are data holders. They have this white wrench icon in the menu to be easily distinguished. The second type of class sub-items are methods, which are functionality items that I can call to perform a specific action related to the class. They have this purple box icon next to them in this menu. The last type are events, which are notifications of something happening. I can execute code at that time. We will understand more about each type in deeper details later in this course. Now, we will complete the word WriteLine, which is a method if you notice the icon next to it here, which means that it's a command I can call. You can also use the helping drop-down window to complete this method name. This method is used to print anything on the console window. To use any method, it should be followed by round brackets or parentheses, like these. They are different from the braces we have known about earlier, which includes code blocks. The function of these parentheses after the method name is to include any method parameters. So, what are parameters? Parameters are simply more information I need to forward to the method to perform its action properly. For example, here I am using the WriteLine method, which as agreed will print on the screen. Now, if I just called it without anything else, what will it print on the screen? I have to specify what exactly to print. This is the role of the parameters. I have to pass a parameter to the method telling it what exactly to print on the screen. In C#, all methods must have these parentheses. If no parameters are needed for the method, I still have to put empty parentheses after the method. Why? To distinguish them from properties which do not have such parentheses, so that code can be easily read. For this WriteLine method, I will pass whatever needed to be printed on the screen between these parentheses as a parameter. If I need to print text, I have to surround it between double quotes. For numbers, it is not required. Let's complete the line like this. Last notice here is C# statements must end with semicolon. This is necessary in C#, otherwise I will end up with error message and I must fix it. Now we finished our fantastic application. Press Ctrl plus F5 from the keyboard to compile and run your application. Wonderful! We succeeded! Here you are, the console application, which is this black window, appeared with Hello World printed inside it. That's why these type of applications are called console application, since all interaction are happening inside this console window.